when I'm living in another person's business, there's no one here to live my business. There's no one there. No one here to live my life. That's what we do. We blame people. We put responsibility on our parents, on our teachers, on the school system, on the society, on the government, on...
My guest today is Ananda Om. At 18, he left a small town in Germany, not simply looking for adventure, but searching for a more meaningful and sustainable way of life. A life that felt true to him. What followed was an incredible journey through Asia and Eastern Europe, including backpacking through India, a rainbow gathering in Nepal, hitchhiking and busking across Eastern Europe, and eventually discovering international community. Today, Ananda lives at the Essence, an international community now based on land near Tulum, Mexico, where he works full-time managing its outreach, internal organizations and affairs. His story is one of courage, self-discovery, changing the life we are told we should live, and having a willingness to look honestly at ourselves and change. Ananda, welcome to Create the Courage to Be Fearless.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm really excited for this conversation. So, what is one of the most courageous things you have done? Now, reading out your introduction, there's a lot of things you've done. Can you possibly pick one?
I thought a lot about this question because you gave me this question to reflect on what is courage for me. And I think a few years ago, I would have told you that, wow, courage is to do like a grand thing, something that's very scary, something that's out of the box, or I don't know, something that's special somehow. But I don't view it in the same way anymore. I would say courage is staying with the thing that I feel is uncomfortable, that I feel I'm scared of, that I know I have a lot of story and fear about. But I see that it's valuable for me, and I see that it's bringing me to a point that I need to go. And so I need to stick with that. So, of course, all of these things, going to Asia and backpacking, trying all of this, yes, I went out of my comfort zone. And yes, for many people, it looks like amazing, but I wouldn't say that that is the courageous thing that I have done. That was just a preparation. The really courageous thing for me feels to be here in the space that I'm now in this community, and to every day stick with this structure that can be very frustrating at times for the mind and can be very boring also for the mind because it wants a lot of stimulation. And stick with this and listen to all of the stuff that comes up and let it be here and keep going every day and start again and start again and start again and meet all of the shit that has to come out, that has built up through the last thousands of generations that now we have to deal with because it's here. And yeah, for me, that's the biggest gift that I can give to myself, and that's the biggest place where I want to direct my courage every day, because that's the most valuable, more than any external experience or than any travel or meeting any person, is to meet myself every day, especially when I don't want to.
Yeah, I love that. And I loved your honesty about that. Absolutely. You left home at 18 and your parents supported your decision. What were you searching for when you left? What did you feel was missing?
As you say, they supported me. So I was already growing up in a space of, like, it was quite alternative already. The way that they were living their life is already quite alternative. Now my mother has actually been here with us and practicing this life that I'm practicing for almost a year. So you can see that they are very much in this kind of energy. But it was still like set within society's boundaries, the way that I was living there. It was okay in this small town, and even though I was living with my parents that were more open, it was still okay. I was going to school, they were doing their thing, we were living in the same house, but not really like living together. And really every day together. yes, you eat every few days together and you're in the same space, but it's a different energy than really going through life fully together. And I wasn't aware at that time that that was what I was looking for. I just felt like, okay, this is not, it's not it. It's not yet something that I feel I want to commit to for the rest of my life. Especially because in Germany, I just saw the outlook of, okay, I will work until I'm 60 or 70, and then I'm like half dead, and then I try to start my life, but it's already too late in a way. And I've just worked to get to that point, which I don't even really want to be. So it doesn't make any sense for me already from very early. So I went out with quite a clear intention of, okay, is there a more valuable or more meaningful way to live that really feels worthy in a way of me committing to it for the rest of my life and sticking with that.
Yeah, I love that. And it's true. You have to go beyond what's expected because society now, you go to school, you get a job, and that's the way life works. But it's great. There are alternatives now. People are doing what they want opposed to what they have to do. So I love that. You spent around a year and a half traveling through Asia and Eastern Europe. What did traveling teach you about yourself that you couldn't learn by staying at home?
It gave me a lot of perspective in many ways. Like one type of perspective was that there's a lot of different ways of living that are possible, because I only knew this one way of living, in a fixed house, in a fixed place with this level of luxury or not luxury, and in a bubble. And so then going to India, for example, that was quite extreme. This contrast of how different people live, and also with how little people can live and how happy they can be. Especially in Nepal, I saw it a lot. The people that were in the mountains, they, at least externally, they were all very happy and they were living simple lives, just in a hut with their vegetable garden somewhere. Little bit have some lodging for the visitors that come through, but nothing complicated. Also, this rainbow gathering that you mentioned, that was quite an extreme contrast for me because I was living for 3 weeks there with just a bunch of people that I've never met before in the wild, without a phone and um, without any like electricity or running water or anything, and we were drinking from the river, bathing in the river, and sleeping open air just on a yoga mat, and cooking on the fire, and like a very, very different way of life, very simple.
Mm.
And even though my body couldn't really handle it at the time because I was very weak, to be fair, I never had this kind of life before. It just taught me that wow, there is a lot of possibility, and I have the ability to choose what kind of life I want to live. I don't have to stick with this one direction, with this one way of living that I always thought is the only way.
At what point did you realize that you weren't simply looking for somewhere different to live, but you were looking for a different way of living your life?
I think after this rainbow gathering, it became more clear, because what that gave me was an opportunity to see what does it look like when people live together without structure that distracts around, because there wasn't any structure. And of course people did a lot of workshop and course, and there were also a lot of drugs involved and many things that were still very distracting. And if I look back, in many ways it was also a very surface level interaction, compared to what I experience now every day. A different flavor, really, just. But I already saw that, wow, you can really live with people. Like there was this feeling of belonging there, of really living the whole day together and just flowing together, and sharing, and going through my emotions, and having people be there and not being so afraid of listening to that and being part of that. Yeah, just felt that wow, it's a space that allows me more to be myself, with less of this idea of who I'm supposed to be. Very much a belonging of a very close together lifestyle, where it's not so much this co-housing style where you are just a little bit together. You meet maybe in the evening for dinner, and then you go back to your phones, and you're not really interacting even though you're living together. No, it's like together. And then later I realized, in the rainbow gathering itself, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I want to do this for the rest of my life. But then later I realized, okay, it's only for 1 month at a time. It's always different people. It's hopping between countries. It's not sustainable, really. Even though people do it, but I see it's not sustainable for me. to live in this way, to just keep on traveling in another place. And it's like you have a little sapling and you just keep replanting it every month, and it's like it has no ability to grow, even though it's always
Mhm.
nice soil, but it's no ability to grow roots really. And then it slowly started developing over the next months that, wow, okay, I want to find something that has this sense of belonging and this different way of living that's much more connected, but also is sustainable, without a clear idea of what that will look like, but with this intention.
You meet Chi in Portugal, and within your first month, you knew you wanted to stay. What was it about that experience that made you think, this is where I belong?
Met him very much by coincidence. I was just hiking with a few people through Portugal, uh, wanting to kind of travel from community to community to see a little bit what's out there, compare and
Mhm.
gather knowledge, try our own thing. He happened to be in the first community that we volunteered because he was also looking for community. I only met him after a few days, and at the start I reacted a lot to his structure actually, because I got after we arrived, I got this information of, okay, there's a practice every morning, meditation at 6 a.m., and then an hour of exercise. And in the afternoon, there's an hour of qigong. And I was like, excuse me? You want me to get up at 6 a.m. to meditate for an hour? What kind of nonsense is this? It's mandatory. It's crazy. Then he gave us an introduction. He offered this meditation introduction of his style of meditation. And something just clicked within me. And there was a voice that said, okay, let's give it a go. I'm only here for 2 weeks. Let's try. Let's judge it by the end of the process and see how much I can show up for 2 weeks and just meet it. I will
Mhm.
stop afterwards anyway. It doesn't really matter. And with the meditation itself, I struggled a lot. Most of the first days, I just spent sleeping on the floor because it was way too early for me at the time, and no ability to be with myself, and very weak physically and mentally in many aspects. But somehow I stuck with it. Somehow I
Mhm.
saw some value there, and then over the days, I only got to interact with Chi more and more, and got to see his flavor, and just noticed that, wow, this is a very different way of looking at life and interacting with life. Because he's very straightforward. He doesn't beat around the bush so much. He just says it, and it can be very uncomfortable many times because you're not used to this. Like one of the first conversations I remember with him was sitting there in this community in a hot tub with another guy, and we were talking about our travel stories and experiences and blah blah blah. And then we asked Chi what is his travel experience and share some story from him. And he was like, ah, come on, I'm not going to put my garbage on you. It's already gone. You don't need my garbage. I don't need your garbage. Let's just be here, finish it. And I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting.
Uh,
And just, yeah, consistently this kind of thing. And it was very intriguing for me.
So, who is Chi, and how did you meet him?
Well, as I said, that's how I meet
Yeah,
him, by coming to this community
yeah.
by accident.
Mm.
Um, who is Chi? He came from Israel originally, grew up there in a kibbutz, also a community, um, and was first not really connected with society so much, in the sense, like already from a very young age, he was also like, okay, this doesn't make any sense for me. But then
Mm.
went back into it, and he had a family at some point, and he had many businesses. But when he was 30, there was something within him that it's like, okay, I have to shift. And he went on his own journey of going to India and going to many places and practicing, and spent now over 25 years practicing with himself, and completely shifted his life. And then eventually people started gathering around him because he was sharing this, and people started practicing with him. And
Mhm.
that's eventually how I met him also, because he was practicing and I was practicing with him. Now he's a very ordinary person, really. He's just
Yes.
normal here. Right now he's probably in the kitchen preparing something for lunch, or taking care of one of our children, uh, or vacuuming, or something. He's like very much normal part of day-to-day life, not this classic guru that is somewhere in a room and you see him once per week.
Hmm.
It's ordinary person that doesn't hold back so much, and that has a lot of clarity and a lot of patience and centeredness and willingness to share and go into this knowledge and into the nature of the mind over and over and over and over and over again. Because
Hmm.
that's what we need. We all just forgot. And so we need consistent reminder. That's why I'm here, to be reminded until I don't forget anymore, until I can remind myself consistently.
I love that. Yes. You've spoken openly about your arrogance being a pattern you had to work through. What did that look like in your life, and what made you willingly to confront it?
So I was not so much aware of it before I came here to the essence. Because you live so closely together, and because the interaction all day is with each other, and you talk about the triggers and the reactions, then it started to come much more to the surface, especially in the way that people were reacting to me. Because I realized that people are reacting to me a lot, just in the way that I interact. Like that I would cut off people in their sentences, or I would come and tell them what to do and what in my opinion is more practical, and like be very much acting superior, which was definitely out of insecurity, because otherwise why do I need to prove that I'm better than you? If I'm comfortable with myself and if I feel confident, no need to prove anything. But I'm not many times. So it just came up again and again, and I start to notice more and more how little it's supporting me to interact in this way with people around me and with the world and with myself also, because it doesn't really create like a space within myself that I appreciate when I interact this way.
Yes.
And so it was just a back and forth and asking for more guidance and getting again this reflection of arrogance. And it was a lot of struggle at the start, a lot of self-judgment for the first months and year even, that every time I get this reflection, there's a lot of frustration, because the thought come like, oh, again I go back to that, again I treat people like that, I cannot stop it, it's never gonna, this usual, the negative thoughts that just repeat themselves like this. I see that the medicine really is just to be made aware of it again and again and again and again and again, and then this awareness itself is what resolves it. Because I see the more I'm aware of it, the more now when it comes up and I get it reflected back, I can say, okay, I already know it. I already know this pattern. I'm familiar with it. It's not such a big deal anymore. So then I can make more peace with it. And on the other hand, the more I'm aware of this pattern, I start to notice, not only after I react or after I'm arrogant, I start to notice while I'm being arrogant. And eventually, sometimes I start to notice before I'm being arrogant. So I see like a way that the person is acting, and I hear the thought that wants to come up or that is coming up, and the thing that I'm about to say next. And then slowly there starts to be more space because of this awareness and this practice to say, wait, is it really necessary to say this right now? Is it really the right moment to bring this? Is it really the right intonation or the right like way to bring it if I want to connect with the person? Because ultimately it doesn't matter. Yeah, I can bring anything I want. Just if the connection with the people around me is important, and the energy of how I interact here in this space is important for me, then I want to be aware of how I influence this energy within myself and with other people. So even though there's a lot of frustration with that, to get confronted with that over and over again, there's also a lot of gratitude, because I see that with this awareness, there's more ability to let it be and let it eventually drop by itself without forcing it to drop.
The thing, when we honestly look at ourselves, at the parts we don't like, it is difficult. Of course it is.
That's what I'm here for. That's what the essence is. I can tell you, it's not a standard community. We're just using community as a tool so that we have more like broad ability to look at ourselves. Because if you sit alone in a cave, of course, you have to go through all of this shit anyway, but you're nice and secluded. And then when you go back to the village, again, oh, now the dog is barking, and this person, and that's too expensive, and ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, it all comes back. This is why we are not a monastery. We are very much normal community. We run a business, we invite people, we have children, we have conflict, we talk about things, we do social media, all of it. It's life. We invest into stocks and equity, whatever, all of it. Because that's how you learn how to deal with life, by dealing with life, with the support of guidance and practice.
You have also experienced significant change in your physical health. What did changing the way you live teach you about the connection between our inner and outer lives?
It taught me that if I want to be connected with my body, and if I want to be able to use my body efficiently and effectively, then I need to actually use my body. It's not something that comes by itself, because I'm very tall and I grew very fast physically. And so I always had this story that, it's just not physically possible for me to be flexible, to do certain kinds of movements. I never did a lot of exercise in my life. I never did any meditation in my life before I came here. Not a lot of interacting with my body. I was also very disconnected from my body. Bumping into things all of the time, knocking stuff over, ramming my toe into the chair leg, and so on. Like all of the time, many times per day, even. Just because I was unaware of the boundaries of this body. And I see that when every single day I put the attention on the body, because I have at least 3 hours of practice every day. It's a stillness meditation, which is completely just the stillness. And then there's qigong, which is kind of a mix. It's like a mix between meditation and movement, because it's very slow, like energy-based movement, so a lot of connection with the body. And then there's also at least an hour of exercise, of stretching or some stronger movement, some yoga, pranayama, some workout that is actually starting to build the muscles and starting to build the ability of the body to deal with things. And I see that the consistency there is doing incredible things. Like I'm now able to do things with this body that I never even thought were physically possible for me. Like, for example, just sitting normal cross-legged on the floor used to be the kind of thing where I need to hold my knees and I'm almost falling backwards. And I cannot do it longer than 1 or 2 minutes because it's so painful. And now, most of the time, I sit comfortably in the half lotus as like a standard sitting position, just on the floor. Exercise used to be very weak. I cried in most of the yoga sessions for the first 6 months here. So much fear of this pain and so much fear of hurting myself, just because I never went to this kind of pain. And a lot of panic there sometimes that is coming out, and so much emotion. Very, very inflexible. I basically never reached my toes while standing before I came here. And now it's now I'm doing on top of the normal exercise also with one community here. We have twice a week a stretching session for 2 hours, just to practice, to have this repetition and repetition for hundreds and thousands of times. And now I feel so much more connected with this body, so much more able, so much more conditioned, so much more flexibility, so much more awareness of not bumping into things, the space around me. And it's really crazy. And I can see that it's all just consistency, doing something over and over again, like walking barefoot. Started walking barefoot while I was here, and I practiced first on the grass and then on the road and then on the stones. And now I don't use shoes anymore at all. Even though the ground out here, it's all like this gravel dirt roads with the big rocks and everything, but it's fine. I just walk with the carrier, with our 2-year-old on my back, and we walk anyway through the jungle and the leaves and the sticks and the stones and everything, just because practice and slowly conditioning the body to deal with all of this. And I see it with so many things that I'm doing, that it's just wow. I just learned one way to do something, like using toilet paper, for example. Complete nonsense. Like I have a video on my Instagram very early when I started, where it's like, imagine you have like a piece of dirt on your arm, and then you wipe it with a dry piece of toilet paper, and then you just have dirt all over. And it's the same, like super unhygienic. It doesn't really make any sense, but we just never questioned it. That's just the way it is. And then when you start, you now to use like water and the cloth or something. At the start, it's very weird for a while, but eventually you get used to it and you see, wow, this is something I appreciate so much more. Not wearing underwear also. It's after a while you get used to it. It's like, what? Why did I ever? It doesn't make any sense. And so many things. So many things in our interaction with life and with our bodies and with other people that are just like, I never questioned it. I just thought it's impossible, or I never even thought that there is a different way. And I see that this is a big benefit of being here, that it just opens my mind to try something different and actually judge it after a while of trying it, and then see, and not judge it based on my imagination of how I think it's going to be, and then never try, and always have only one way available for me, instead of practicing another one for a while, and then I can choose. This is nice, this is nice, okay, let me pick, because it's available, because I tried it.
For someone hearing about it for the first time, what is the essence and what is it trying to create?
As I said, the essence is a space, essentially, to learn to be able to deal with life. Because we are not learning fundamental life skills in school, from our parents, from the people around us. It is not something that we are taught. Like the really basic, I'm not talking about maths or grammar or even reading or writing or any of this. No, the basic skills like communicating with people responsibly, taking responsibility for your own thoughts and emotions and actions, inquiring into your belief system. This is a very basic skill that nobody ever teaches us. Being with the discomfort, very basic skill that we need for everything, and nobody teaches us that. People teach us to go always after the pleasure, always after the comfort thing. Very, very basic things. Being aware of the breath, being aware of the sensation, being aware of the surroundings, being aware of how I talk with people. All of this, so basic, and we never get it taught. So that's what we focus on here within this container of a relatively normal life, although for people that come from the outside, it's not normal at all. But it's normal in the way that it's not a monastery. It's not we're always silent. It's not all of us wear orange robes and shave our heads and everybody has sex with the guru or some nonsense that it's like, no, it's a normal life, just very, very structured.
Yeah.
And very boring for many people, I think, as well, because the structure doesn't really change so much. Of course, it adjusts slightly, but in the core, it's a structure of waking up early, being with yourself, opening the day, sharing, hearing the knowledge, exercising, breakfast, opening the day as a business, working together, lunch, siesta, again, a little bit more practice, qigong, closing the day, start again. Every day, like this. It's not, we don't go out so much, except for like shopping or when it's necessary, or sometimes when I walk with cheetah or a child here in the jungle or something like this. But it's not so much a big celebration life. It's very practical, very down to earth, and just focusing on the essence. That's why we call ourselves the essence, because it's not about us. It's not about our flavor. It's not about any of this. It's about dealing with all of this conditioning that we've built up over many generations, that nobody has taught us to deal with, and nobody has taught us how to handle and work with and really welcome. And also eventually let go of the things that are not serving anymore.
I love that.
Yeah, and
So
to keep it for many generations, that there's a space that's available for people to practice that.
Chi describes himself as a mirror rather than someone people should put on a pedestal. What does that mean in practice?
That means whatever energy you put out, you're going to get back. It's not so much his own flavor, the way I perceive it now that I interact with him every day for over 1.5 years. Of course, he has a flavor as a person, very much. But he's very, very different with different people. It's not just, okay, I'm in a bad mood now, and now I'm in a bad mood towards everyone. Nothing to do with that. You can see that if one person comes very humble, he comes back very humble and respectful. If one person then a minute later comes totally arrogant and disrespectful, he reflects this same energy back to them and is very harsh. And then again, then this person shifts and he's again very, so it's very dynamic because of the energy that people bring. This can be very frustrating because it points out to you what you don't want to see, because it starts, it's, the mind wants to blame him, but it's hard in a way, because if you come here to be aware, then this is what gets reflected back to you. And if I come with arrogance and I want to blame him for being arrogant, and I think I know better, and he reflects the same thing back to me. If I have some openness, then I can see that it's a pointer back to me, because he doesn't really care. Doesn't really care if it's this way or that way. I've seen it so many times that he shifts and he's like, doesn't matter, really. Just he's reflecting it back, because he's working every day on inquiring into his belief system and cleaning his mirror. And all of us are mirrors, just we're not every day cleaning our mirror. We're not asking ourselves the questions to be aware and to see if this thought is really true and really exists right now, and inquire into the labels we put on the sensations and the thoughts and the people around us and the objects and all of this. But if you constantly do it, your mirror starts to become clean,
Mm.
because then it's not a filter in between. When someone comes and they attack you, immediately the brain is already conditioned to see, okay, they're just in delusion right now. They just believe a thought to be true that is not accurate to reality as it's happening in this moment. So then I can be centered and I can reflect cleanly back without adding my flavor or my opinion. And I see it does that a lot, and it's very valuable and very, very triggering.
It's really good though. Yeah. You now manage much of the community's outreach, organization, and finance, something you weren't originally assigned to do. What made you step forward and take the responsibility?
It's kind of happened naturally, honestly. There was a space. I think after maybe like a month and a half of being part of the community, I started to slowly involve more into whatever we were doing online at the time and support and help out. And it started to be clear that things were quite unorganized. Um, and then I got this task of making just a simple to-do list to track what's going on, and started very simple with just like a Google sheet. It was very messy. Never in my life I organized anything. I was always like, no, I don't want to deal with this. It's too much. I let them do it, and I just go along with it, sort of, because I don't really want to bother. So it was very new terrain for me, very new domain. Started with that, and then it happened that I started to like lead these meetings of opening the day and closing the day, just going through this checklist every day and what's going on, where are people at with the tasks. And then I just wanted to make it more efficient for myself and made another version and another task tracker and another thing. And now I'm like 7, 8, 9 iterations in, and just building more and more systems to make it really efficient and make us really work together and have all of it organized. Because in the end, I want all of us to, first of all, have as little effort as possible to run the practical side of these things while still bringing a lot of quality, because it's just not the most important to spend your day and your life on maintaining a system. So better to once put a lot of energy into getting a really, really good system, and then you can just sustain it with very low energy, instead
Yeah.
of every day you have to do the same manual work and you spend all your time. And secondly, to replace all of us, to make every single person in the community replaceable, because I don't want this vision and this space to be dependent on Chi or on me or on anyone here. It needs to be completely available, that if any of us has to drop out or dies tomorrow, this can keep running, because the vision is the most important, not the people. And so part of keeping this running is the knowledge, which we're already also doing a lot there to collect this knowledge and make it available and make it usable for us, like as a big corpus of the transcripts and the wisdom and all of this, and specific answers to specific questions and so on, that we can a large part of that at least use for giving value to people and also to ourselves. And the other part is all of this financial and structural stuff that just needs to be taken care of either way, because that's the world that we live in. So at least set it up in a way that if I have to go tomorrow, the next person can just pick it up, and that's it. Because also I don't want this to be dependent on me. If I stop giving value here, if I start to disrupt the space, or I'm in a position of power where I then start to use my power to manipulate people, I don't want people to not have the ability to kick me out. I don't want this kind of energy in my life. So now, when I'm aware, I consciously put the intention to make that impossible for me in the future. Even if I ever fall into delusion and I go to a point and the ego takes over, it's not possible anymore, because I don't give myself the opportunity.
So, who is the essence really for? What kind of person might feel drawn to the community like this?
I see two kinds of people, really. One kind of person is the person that is really lost in life and is aware that they are lost, that it's at the really low point, and in a way I see no way out. Maybe I tried many things and nothing is really working, almost given up on life. But there's also a strong urge to say, okay, I want to shift. I really want to, I need to make a transformation. I need it. And I'm open to give everything for that, to give up on my thoughts of how things should be and all of my flavors just because I want not to suffer from this mind anymore. I want to find a way to freedom, which is essentially eventually to realize that freedom is already here, but you need support for that because the mind is very strong. The negative conditioning is so strong that you cannot see it um, many times on your own. It's like a baby that gets born fresh and it cannot walk for a few years and it cannot take care of itself. It's the same with the spiritual awakening that that you're a baby in a new world and it makes sense anymore. What do I do now? I need some support.
Yeah.
And so it's for this person that really wants to make a shift and that is ready to give up their life and be done with it because anyway there's nothing there really to sustain. That's in many ways it was like that for me. That the reason why I could go fully into it because I didn't have anything to go back to. What's the point? No need.
Yes. Your
Yeah.
life today looks very different from the conventional path many people are encouraged to follow. What do you think we lose when we live accordingly to other people's expectations rather than our own truth?
Oh, everything. Everything we
Mm,
lose. Especially when I believe that I live according to other people's expectations.
mm,
Because I still live according to other people's expectations in a way. Like someone expects me to pay money to them so they will give me a banana. Fair
mm,
enough. That's the structure, that's the system that we live in. But as long as I blame the people outside of me for that, no
mm,
way for me to be free. Because I think Byron Katie puts it beautifully that when I'm living in another person's business, there's no one here to live my business. There's no one there. No one here to live my life. That's what we do. We blame people. We put
mm,
responsibility on our parents, on our teachers, on the school system, on the society, on the government, on whatever we can find. All the evil people in the world, all these angry activists, they just found a nice person to blame
mm.
and to be angry about. But they suffer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you lose you lose everything when you give away your responsibility for your life. Nothing to do with what you follow because you can be happy in normal life if you want to because it's nothing to do with the external. It's the state of mind that you're in. If you're grateful for whatever comes, it doesn't matter what comes.
Mm,
That's the practice anyway. Just
yeah,
if you already realize this and you start to be more aware, then at least for me, it doesn't make sense to go to this life just because it's
no,
for me much less quality to live this kind of life than that kind of life. If you think about the insanity for a moment, to wake up in the morning as quick as you can, have some breakfast, already be stressed, then go through an hour of traffic to drive to work just for money so you can eventually get what you want, but you don't really like the job for 8 hours. And then by the time you get home, you still have to take care of all of the household and the cooking and all of and so much stress. And somehow trying to handle this life on your own just so you can eventually be happy. And that's why you earn money. But you spend all of the money to sustain this life in the first place. And then even you have debt. Come on.
mm,
And so, of course, I'm going to choose a life where I I work on the same table that I eat. I'm in a
mm,
community where people are practicing to be aware and resilient and communicative and going out of their comfort zone. So it's very practical, it's very functional because people are willing to do the things they don't want to do. Okay, I don't want to do the dishes. I'll do it anyway. I don't want to do the laundry. I'll do it anyway because I see that it's eventually for me. And I'm the one
mm,
that has to do it if I live alone. So everything that people do for me, like right now, they're cooking. I have to do this. They're
mm,
taking care of the child. I have to do this.
mm,
Somebody else takes care of something online. I have to do this. It's my job.
mm,
So if people support me with that, wow, amazing. I don't have to drive to work. I don't have to go anywhere. I get so much support. Plus, on top of that, I get a lot of practice and I get a lot of guidance and a lot of clarity here just in daily life and a lot of
yeah,
connection with the people around me. So with
mm,
myself through the people around me, really.
yes.
So it's just much more quality for me,
Mm,
much deeper. Not so much the roller coaster of excitement and depression, but it's a more flat. But once it's flat, you start to notice the little things, and it's like wow, really rich.
mhm. Yes. So, what would you say to someone listening who knows deep down that the life they're living isn't the life they truly want, but are afraid to make a change?
I would ask them, is the life that you are living right now really delivering for you? Does it really give you what you feel you need? Or do you just keep it because you're afraid it's gonna get worse? Also, I would tell them, look, you have this life now, you have 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience of this path. You know it very well, and you know you can go back. You already know how it works, you know how to start again in this path. It's fine, nothing to worry about. Even if you stop for a year, you go back to it, okay, maybe you need to build it up a little bit again because you have to find a new job or whatever. But in the core, you know how it works, you know what to do with it. But right now, you only have one option. So of course there's a lot of fear of the unknown because I never know what is the unknown. I cannot. It's okay, that's the nature of the unknown. But if you try something really different and not just try it in the sense of you have your old habits and conditioning and you just put them here and then it's you experience exactly the same as you did before because you do exactly the same thing, of course it's not going to work. But if
Mhm.
you allow yourself really for a while to go do something completely different, to really try and be fully with that 100%, and then after a few weeks or a month or a few months or a year or however long you're willing to stay with that, at the end of the process, you judge the process and you compare and see, okay, now I know this and I know that. Now I can choose. I have the ability to choose, and you open for yourself this path. Then it's a completely different situation because people complain a lot that nothing changes in their life.
Mhm.
But to experience something different, you have to do something different.
Yes.
It's That's how it works. That's the nature of
Mhm.
something different. Because
Mhm.
otherwise, if you do the same and you expect something different to happen, how's that gonna work? Doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
If there was one key takeaway you want every listener to walk away with today, what would that be?
Do the things that you don't want to do, but that are not hurting you really.
Mhm.
Because we conflate the two, we put them together. Everything I like, I say, oh, do the things that I don't want to do. Okay, so I'm gonna jump off a bridge. I'm not talking about that. Of
Mhm.
course, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you jump off a bridge? You're gonna hurt yourself. Look at the like so simple things. You finish drinking your cup and then you put it there and you leave it there for 3 days because you don't want to take it away. It's not gonna hurt you to take it, but it's gonna take some effort. It's gonna need you to get out of this state of mind of lazy and I cannot do it and I'm not good enough and it's too hard for me and all of these negative thoughts that keep repeating. And it's nice, of course, can do positive affirmation and I use it also a lot. It's supporting me. But the reason why it's supporting me is because I practice being with the discomfort in the first place. Because otherwise I
Mhm.
have no space to put this into use. Doesn't matter how much positive I tell myself, my conditioning is still to say, I don't want to do it. It's too hard for me. I cannot. So practice that. Practice being with the things you don't like, being with yourself when you don't want to be with yourself, doing the things you don't want to do, being kind to the people you don't want to be kind of. So many like tiny, tiny, tiny things
Mhm.
to support, to be more aware and just become more resilient in life. Because once you build this foundation of skill of being with the discomfort, of letting the pain be there, because if we're realistic, discomfort is the main part of life. It's not
Mhm.
comfort. Most of life is discomfort. So if I always chase this little piece of happiness, it's going to be very annoying for me because I
Mhm.
get it for a moment and then it's gone again. And now I need
Mhm.
to go through all of this shit until I get it again for a moment. So better to start to be able to be with the discomfort and suddenly I start to be able to access 100% of life because I can be with that. It's not so bad.
Yeah,
I can keep going. Anyway, I can appreciate what I have, even if it doesn't feel good.
of course.
And then I start to unlock life. And
Mhm.
I start to have all of these opportunities that were always close to me because I was so afraid of the pain.
Mm.
Because that's the only reason why we don't do things. Because we think
Mhm.
it's going to be painful.
So, where can the listeners find you online and learn more about the essence?
We have a website that's, I think, the easiest point of contact. It's
Mhm.
www.the-essence.org. And there you can find out about the way we live and how to interact with us, how to stay with us if you're interested. We have few different ways of staying or working with us for whatever is available for people at the moment. I think I might have also sent you my Instagram. I'm not 100% sure, to put into the post description. Ananda Om now on Instagram, or Chi Om Daily if you want to hear a little bit about what Chi is doing, also on Instagram. Yeah, anybody that really wants to make a radical shift in their life and really is willing to see what is under the surface and what you didn't want to meet so far, but what you just don't want to push away anymore, it's an opportunity. I can say it's the most valuable and beneficial thing that I have ever received in my entire life. And the reason why I'm on this podcast is not to promote myself or to make me feel good about myself. Of course, the ego still likes it, yeah, but it's because I received a huge gift and I want to share it with all of humanity, because it feels unfair that I am the only one that gets to benefit off of it. It's really, it feels painful within myself, because I feel like everybody that is in a place where they are not happy with life, which is most people on this planet, need to get this opportunity to wake up for a moment and see that all is well and there's no problem in this moment, and just to get this glimpse of awareness, of appreciating life.
And that's beautiful. Yes, and all the links will be in the show notes, so listeners, do please go ahead and see what it's all about and connect with Ananda. So, Ananda, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, and your stories with us today. You've given our listeners a fascinating insight to what it can look like when we step away from the unexpected path, questioning what we've been taught, face ourselves honestly, and have the courage to create a life that feels meaningful for you. I really want to acknowledge you for that, Ananda Om.
Thank you, Anita. I very much appreciate that you took the time here to be with me and listen to my my all the things that come through me today,
That's
and
beautiful.
support me to share it with the world.
Thank you. So we are all about Create the Courage to Be Fearless podcast. What is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage is do the things that you are afraid of and that you think you cannot do and that you think you're not good enough for. Do them with the intention of failing. Do them with the awareness and the willingness of, I'm gonna fail 100 times until I do it, because it's important for me. I don't need to succeed right away. I don't need to do it right away. I will go back to my old patterns 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna do it, because for me it's the most important. And for that I need to be aware what is the most important in my life. And I see that when I trace it back, I might say first it's a car, or it's a career, or it's a family, but ultimately when I trace, and then what, and then what, and then what, when I ask myself this question, I will see the most important in my life and in everyone's life is to always be happy, to always be content. And if I put the intention on that, and I start to realize what things, what habits and conditioning is holding me back from always being content, which ways of thinking, then I need to deal with that. As uncomfortable as it is, I see I need to get support, and I need to face all of the things I don't want to face, because that's the only way to realize that I'm free. Once I stop believing I have a limitation, and that's only by direct experience, not by knowledge, not by information, not by anybody telling me I don't have a limitation. It's only possible through actively realizing over and over and over and over through my experience that the limitation that I believe I have is not real. And for that, I need to go into the fear, into the discomfort, full on. And that doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It's the tiny, tiny things in life. Those are the most sticky, much more than all the big stuff.